Hello, everyone. My name is Catherine O'Hare, and I am the Chief Compliance Officer for the state of Michigan and the Vice President of MARR. Welcome to today. It's July 12th, and I hope everybody had a great holiday this last week. I'm going to go ahead and introduce some people. Want to start off with Jeff? Go ahead and introduce yourself. And do you have any updates, Jeff?
Yeah, hi. My name is Jeff Van Treese. I'm the president of MARR, and I really don't have a huge amount of updates to share with you other than to say that I do anticipate receiving from the state of Michigan some news, hopefully in the next few weeks, about funding from the opioid litigation settlement fund for the long-term lease, 5 years plus, and/or purchase of recovery residences. And so on the day that that comes out, I'll make sure that that goes out on an email blast to everyone that's on the MARR operators list. And if anyone has any questions about how to structure a proposal for that grant, I'm happy to work with anybody that's a MARR certified recovery residence. The other point that I'd like to bring up today is that we're working on the NAR conference that's coming up in October. So we're incredibly excited about that. We're going to have some wonderful speakers, including probably federal representative Patrick Kennedy, who is somebody who's been very open about his battles with addiction and his life in recovery as probably a keynote speaker. And for all of the MARR certified recovery residence operators, we're going to have some funding available for the registration only portion of the expense. And then anybody that can't make it for whatever reason, or you can't make it for all 3 days, will be able to access the recorded information via Zoom, probably within 2 to 4 weeks after the conference is over. And that also is being funded by the state of Michigan, so that'll be all free. So I think that's all that I had to address today. Thank you, Catherine.
Okay. Kayla, want to introduce yourself and talk about any updates?
Hello, everyone. I'm Kayla. I'm the project manager at MARR. I feel like most of you know me by now. As far as updates go, mostly just trying to get everyone used to using our new Facebook page. Those of you that are on social media, it's been a great way for operators to connect and share resources, share links, share events. We even just had like a couple programs that were doing special events for the 4th of July. So it's a great way to get involved with each other and give each other feedback. So I'll post the link in the chat again, just in case anybody wants to join that. Otherwise, I did want to mention renewals. Everyone knows that they have a certain date that they are certified by and that they expire by. So if it's as of July 1st, we would really love your renewal to be completed no later than 15 days before your renewal is due. We have been having people submit the renewal late or like right on the very last day, and that makes your certification lapse. So we don't want that. We want to be able to complete your renewal, receive your renewal fees and all of your documentation before your renewal date. So just a friendly reminder about that. And
Yeah, we want to make sure that the site review is scheduled as well before your certification expires. So that way you have time to actually make any corrections again before your certification expires. So that would be ideal. I know things happen and it's we all have a lot of things going on in our world, but as a reminder, that would be very helpful. That way you'll get your certificate before your other one lapses. So anything else, Kayla?
no, not that I can think of.
Hey, Wally. Wally on here? I don't see Wally. Kelly, you want to introduce yourself? And I know Kelly had some things she wanted to discuss today about RECAP.
Yeah, so my name is Kelly and I am the project coordinator for the ARM system, which contains the RECAP evaluation for the state of Michigan. Just as a reminder, that is free of charge, covered by the state of Michigan. Right now, we're at about half of the operators are in some form or another in the onboarding process, whether we're just starting, and half would be about 30. Whether we're just starting or we're getting to the phase where we're starting to build goals and recovery plans with individuals. So that's really exciting. Another thing that I wanted to let everyone know is that we will be starting a community of practice meeting monthly with all of our clients that are onboarding. And that is just an additional layer of support that we want to provide for you, as well as meeting together as operators to share ideas, to share concerns, to say, hey, I had this happen. What have you done? How have you handled it? They found that that's something that's been very helpful in Virginia. They've also started in Maine. And like I said, we'll be starting within the next month, doing a monthly community of practice. Finally, I just kind of want to let you know that once I emailed 5 people last month, I've heard back from 2. So if we could please just focus, I know that everyone is incredibly busy and completely understand that. And we have really worked hard to streamline the process for onboarding as much as possible to make it pieces and accomplishing goals, essentially just like doing in a recovery plan. So we're going to go through stages so that it's accomplishable. So again, just kind of keep your eyes and ears out. If you get an email, get a phone call, if you're not the individual that I should be in contact with, if you could please just forward that information to that individual, it would be greatly appreciated. And on another note, just to extend MARR's appreciation for all of the hard work that the individuals so far that are within the onboarding process and all of the effort that everyone has been putting in to complete the onboarding process. I've had a lot of good feedback from the system. There's always going to be kinks as well. We've been able to work those out. So just kind of keep an eye and your ear open, and if you hear from me, if you could just let me know, and we'll get together and show you the system. That's all I have.
That's all you have.
All
right.
That's actually not true. I want to add one more thing. I forgot to let you know about the vouchers. So we want to have those turned in. In case you aren't aware, there is a $300 per certified address for organizations that they're able to use to purchase equipment to complete the RECAP evaluations with individuals. That will be going away. The last date is September 15. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind too. If you do want to have that voucher and being able to get reimbursed, if you want to get out with me and get back with me, that'd be great. Go ahead, Jeff, sorry.
Yeah, just wanted to, no, that's excellent. One additional item, and this was just agreed on yesterday, but as a tool to have the RECAP data instrument explained, Dr. Best is going to be coming up with a 3 to 5 minute video where he will be explaining in his Scottish accent a RECAP assessment tool is really a game changer and is so important to their own recovery. And then secondly, that all of the identifying personal information is stripped from the RECAP data. And so that anybody that has a concern about whether, say, their probation or parole officer might be able to access information is going to be satisfied that no, that's all personal, that's all private, that's a medical record under HIPAA and it's protected, and it's all of the identifying information is stripped from that. So that should be done in the next couple of weeks, and upon that being done, Kelly will get in contact with you and say, here's an additional tool you can put in your toolbox for use in trying to persuade people and explain what the rec cap instrument does. That's
Okay,
all I can add. Thanks.
thank you. Well, I wanted to announce who the operator of the month is going to be this month, and it's going to be Beginning Step. Beginning Step has been, it's run by Catherine Radamus, sorry, and she's been with us since 2021. They have 16 locations. They were just reviewed last week, and the inspector had a very difficult time trying to find something that they could actually write down. You gotta write down something, no place is perfect. But there ended up being only 3 locations. They had just a couple minor things, and they continue to represent MARR and recovery housing in a really positive way. They're in the Detroit area. Thank you so much for representing and trying to work on that horrible stigma that's attached to recovery residences. There's some great ones out there, and the certified ones are a great example of that. So a couple of the subjects that people had asked to talk about again was budget ideas. So this comes up quite a bit as new operators come on board, and even other operators, sometimes they start to struggle a little bit and looking to cut corners where they can and try to save some money or make some extra money, maybe even want to expand. So I wanted to reach out to the operators on this meeting. This calls for you. Is there anyone that can share some great advice? And Carrie, you wanting to raise your hand? Carrie, right? No, okay. Please feel free to speak up and share some ideas on how people can budget. Nobody?
Everyone talk at once.
Catherine, can you be a little more specific when you say budget? When you say, are you asking for other revenue streams to come into the home? I'm kind of not understanding when you say budget.
Or like cost saving tips, like what do you guys do to save money or not overspend while running a recovery residence? Like a great one that Catherine likes to mention to people are the coin operated laundry. That's a great way to receive money back instead of just offering laundry for free. I get the coin operated ones. That's a great way to get money. Just things like that.
Okay.
Well, the thing with the coin operated again is that's a huge money cost for a lot of operators. People abuse those washers and dryers, and they'll put one pair of jeans on the highest load on hot, and they really wreck the washers and dryers. So that's something that seems to have to be replaced a lot, and that's very costly. So having a company that maybe you can lease a washer, commercial grade washer and dryer from, that can actually, if they're going to have to pay $1.50 per load, they're not going to just put one pair of jeans in it. It does help you in the long run. And I know there's a company called Wash that what they do is they take whatever fee it is for the washer and dryer out of the coins themselves, and whatever's left, they split it with the operator. And if it breaks down, then they're usually out within 24 to 48 hours to repair it, or they'll replace it if need be. So it's just been a valuable asset to some of the operators. Go ahead, Chris. But yeah, budgeting. I think all of it.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense now. So one of the things we've found some success with is our scholarship funds that we send out to some community partners to help offset some of the budgeting. When you think about it, we have a men's house and we have up to 4 to 5 residents. So when you think about grown men and the food costs on that and trying to budget for that monthly, because there's variables that goes up and down, you can utilize food pantries. But historically, we were using the scholarship funds to sponsor an individual for a whole year. But we found that some of the partnerships would start doing food cards. So they would give us a couple $100s a month per the amount of men we have in the house. So that changed our budgeting for food tremendously. Another thing that a tool we've been using is Families Against Narcotics, where they'll pay up to a certain amount per resident that if, as long as you don't charge them a certain amount, I think it's $175 per resident for up to 2 weeks. So that also we've been able to utilize that for individuals coming into the home to offset some of the budgeting, as well as we don't have to charge the individual entry fee to come into the home. So that helped a whole lot. So really the scholarship funds, sending out scholarship packages to people in the community, letting them know some of our needs has really changed the amount of funding that we've been able to bring into the home outside of some private donations and grants, because we've been specific with being able to label what we need. One church paid our gas and electric bill for 6 months.
Wow.
That's
So I mean, I think it's one of those things we just got to ask. Yeah.
That's great.
There's a lot of organizations. Thank you for sharing that, Chris. There's a lot of organizations just looking for an opportunity to help and give back in some way. And there's so many places that don't even know what a recovery residence is. So like you said, if you don't ask, you're not going to know. But that's amazing for a church to reach out to and pay for the next 6 months. And thank you for the reminder about FAN. You don't have to have a contract with your county or local PIHP to be able to work with FAN. So it's Families Against Narcotics. And you reach out to them about an individual that you'd like to have covered, and they'll do for 2 weeks, typically, like when an individual first comes to the home. And they'll do it on a case-by-case basis, but if for some reason the individual can't find work or there's another hiccup going on, you can reach back out to them, and sometimes they'll give you an additional 2 weeks for that individual. So that's another resource that can be very helpful to everybody. Thank you, Chris. Anybody else have anything to share about how to bring some money sources in?
Yeah, there's several hands raised actually. Christy?
Hi. So we do have we've installed the programmable thermostats and then energy efficient lighting. But in addition, we have it's called SCHLAGE, SCHLAGE, and we do that for the entry codes, and it costs up front about $300, but just your typical person can install it. And so you don't have door keys floating around in the county, which cost $2 to $5 each set, or if they lose them. And then you can, as far as safety, you can add and delete the code right away. So if somebody comes in, you give them a 4 to 6 digit code. If they leave voluntarily or involuntarily, then you remove the code and it's gone. So you're not trying to say where's my key and how many people, I live in Muskegon, how many people in Muskegon County can access, this residential treatment facility. The other thing that I thought of was so we work with Precision Lab Diagnostics for our drops, and they provide a person to do the testing. We're in works right now. We have a volunteer, but they have the job description out there, and they'll pay up to $17 an hour to have somebody come in and do that lab work. And so then we get the free cups, free specimen bags, all the sample material. The testing materials, not sample, sorry. The testing materials are free. And then the insurance, typically people are under Medicaid, but the insurance will cover, up to X number of drops each week. And so we're able to work with them to cut the cost of the instant cups, and then it improves the results. They're 99.999% valid, so it's not kind of opinionated if we say, well, is that light or is that line solid, or is it not, is there alcohol in there? And it's always questionable, and they tell us it's about 50% on those cups, the instant ones, and so that we can help ensure that the results that we're communicating back to the participant are pretty accurate. So those are a couple things I had. Could
you put some of that information, Christy,
Yep.
into that? That would be great.
Yep.
And
Everyone that shares, if you could put it in the chat, just so people can keep up with all of these tips.
Yep.
And companies.
And Christy, when you were talking about the schlag, that you reminded me, you had shared that with me before. Is it $300 per lock or per home?
Per lock. Per lock. So if you wanted 2 locks on at the front and the rear door, then it'd be $600. Typically, we ask that people only enter and exit during one door. It also helps because we have RealLink cameras installed on all of our houses. And so we can look at the schlag lock and say, okay, John Doe entered at 4:59 p.m. and then go back and review RealLink. So it's not trying to watch 24 hours of camera feed all the time. It helps you narrow in what time they accessed.
Yeah. And that reminded me too, because you said that you don't have to be there. You have that on your phone. So Christy can be at her office miles away, and maybe a case manager or something is saying, hey, I need to get in the home. Christy can unlock the door for him at that time, so he can actually have access to getting in the house. And she can remove or enter a code for an individual. If somebody forgot their code or whatever, she can actually let that individual in the door just from her office where she's at, which is great. But for those that don't want to spend that kind of money, it's understandable, but you definitely don't want to have individual keys. It's surprising how many operators I still run into that they give all their residents a key to the home and assume and expect that they're going to return that key, and they didn't make copies, when they leave, and especially if they leave on bad terms and are removed from the home. So getting a lock, at least that you can get them that accept 15 plus codes, and put the last 4 digits of the individual social security number on it, versus having one code that all the home has to use. And then when somebody leaves, you got to change that code and hope you reach everybody so they can get in the house. Making the code actually like the last 4 digits of a person's social security number. Everybody knows what that is. And so they can come and go. And when that person leaves, you just remove their 4 digits of their social security number. Staff can all have the same code. So you have access to all your homes using the same code. It really helps in the long run with stuff like that. Great information. Anybody else?
Don?
Yeah, I would reiterate what Catherine was just saying about the Ring. We have Ring doorbell, and it's really not expensive at all. I want to say maybe $30 to $40 for the year. And what a great tool to verify, like when residents are coming home, and I've seen a couple residents get home a couple hours after curfew, and it can be a little annoying when you get a notification every time someone steps out to have a cigarette. You can adjust that, but it's nice to see, okay, it's a little later in the evening, what's really going on? Is it just people smoking? And then you see someone coming back 2 hours after curfew, and you can address that. But as far as budget stuff, I really like what Chris was saying about the food. That was one of the challenges I had coming in as a director back in March. We had food kind of going everywhere. Like we had kind of a budget of these many people are in the house, these are how many residents. But what was happening was the house leader that we have would purchase the food for the house, and you get 1 or 2 people eating it all, right? How is that really followed through to make sure that? And then also, there was also issues of people eating other people's food. Now and I know everybody does it a little different, but I was seeing also guys leaving the house with $1,000 on their bridge card, not touching that, which is, when I was in some treatments in Chicago, they would take your food card as part of the thing. We don't do that, but they should be utilizing that. Like they're independent. Most 99% of the time, they come out of treatment with that already established. If they don't have a bridge card, they definitely have one when they get out of treatment and come to our home. So what we did was we decided as an agency, we're going to supply the basics, all the basics, like we talked about, laundry soap and paper towels, toilet paper. People don't realize how much that stuff adds up. And there are cost saving things. I went through GFS and stuff, different agencies that's more commercial. There are other ones out there that I could put in the chat that are a little more cost effective as far as buying bulk toilet paper. There also runs into, I'm sure you guys know, that runs into the opposite of that. If you buy too cheap, you know, if someone's using a roll of toilet paper to go to the bathroom twice, then are you really saving any money? Because it's such a cheap product. So you got to balance that out. But with the food thing, what we realized was getting the men to come in and say, hey, you're independent. This is your area. We got these fridges. This is your space. This is your cupboard. Market. This is community. If it's not market, it's community. We supply the basics, the coffee, the condiments. Always encourage salad stuff. I tell them we'll buy the salad stuff if it's not if it's being used, and unfortunately it is. And then what we started was we have our monthly dinner, family dinner, or I'm sorry, weekly. So every house has a night where we have the house meeting, but we also break bread together and have a dinner. And of course we pay for that. And then I started cooking for the guys, but then now we've got everybody taking a turn cooking, and they're really
nice.
enjoying that and taking a lot of pride in it. And it's really neat to see, especially some guys. You know, we taught a guy how to cook a hamburger like a few months ago, and he's in his 40s. But then he found a recipe online for beef stroganoff, and he made an amazing beef stroganoff for the whole house.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I just had them, you know, compile the list of what they need to make that dinner. But it felt like it was better, like, because I just felt like the food was going to a few people. And it was funny is like the people that were eating all the food were the ones that had all this money on their bridge card that they weren't using. So they come in, and here's the other rub is because of that, because we're saving money on that, if somebody comes in and they didn't have their food card yet, or it's coming in the mail, of course, I'm going to take them to the store and like, this is your food though. I'm going to hook you up for now until your food card gets going, but this is your stuff, so that you have your own. And so that seemed to help a lot.
That's awesome.
Don, can I ask why is your organization buying food for the individuals? Typically, you know, they have work or something, they provide their own food, whether it's peanut butter and jelly and bologna, until, you know, they start making more money. If you're a nonprofit 501c3, you do have access to food pantries. They have access to the food pantries. But I'm wondering why that's a huge expense for your organization to be buying the food for the residents that live there. They should be independent and buying their own.
They do. That's what I'm trying to establish is they do. Like the only thing we buy is the very basics, like coffee, butter. I try to utilize like food pantries. There's not a lot of them up here in the UP. We're pretty small and desolate out here. So it's not like where I came from Chicago, where there's just an abundance of resources. But the other thing is they absolutely are. They weren't doing that before. That's the problem. Now they are. Now they are utilizing when they come in. The only reason I would buy them food, to be honest, Catherine, is if they don't have anything. And it's only in the case of I left my card in treatment, they're mailing it to me. I left, we're not gonna let anybody go hungry. You know what I mean? So it's very basic, like here's some stuff and most times it's like, here's some stuff for sandwiches, you know, but I wanted them to know that this is theirs to establish that. So this is the one-time deal. Your job in the first week is to get a job.
Right.
And also most of them have that. So we don't run into that problem hardly at all now that it's been established, because they have that bridge card, and we have our house leaders have access to transportation to take them to the store and get their food, help them get their food.
Great. That's good. Good. When my late husband and I used to run homes, once in a while we'd get the indigent person that didn't have anything basically except the clothes on their back. So we would take $50 and I would personally take the individual shopping, and we would get peanut butter and jelly and bread and eggs and milk and cereal, basic stuff, ramen noodles, get the cheap stuff, you know, and when they get work and they want to start buying their own food, that's fine. But at least we gave them something to start off on, like you said, because you don't want them to just go hungry. Obviously, that's not going to work out. But and buying things for the home, we used to actually ask all the residents to kind of pitch in with the house manager to get the cleaning supplies and toilet paper, everything. Everybody should pitch in for that, but it ended up being the house managers were the ones that kept spending all the money because nobody wanted to pitch in, right? So we actually started charging, everybody got charged automatically $5 a week for, and that was for the cleaning supplies and toilet paper. And then we made sure that the proper cleaning supplies and toilet paper were provided in the home at all times. We didn't have to worry about, are they not pitching in? Somebody, you know, do they not have the proper supplies and stuff? So that helps. And working that into your program fees, if this is something that you're doing, you're buying the supplies, I would increase those program fees by a good $5 a week with everybody. What a difference that will make as far as your overhead cost, because you do want to make sure that they have the proper stuff in place. So thank you for sharing that, Dawn. iPhone, you don't have a name, so we'll call you iPhone. You're next.
Is that?
That's
Hi.
you.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I am the recovery home manager for ATS in Traverse City.
Oh, okay.
So I have something that we recently started that coincidentally, it wasn't meant for budgeting, but coincidentally, we found that it was a 2 birds, 1 stone type thing, and also a little bittersweet. But when I stepped up in this role, I noticed a lot of some residents were leaving unexpectedly and not giving any sort of heads up for that. So during the intake process, I've filled out type and we're taking they've got up to 2 weeks if they can't do it the day of the intake to put in a $20 deposit. And then that $20 deposit was then returned as long as they were scheduling an exit walkthrough with us to make sure that they're taking all their belongings. They weren't leaving anything behind for us to have to move ourselves. Returning anything that we as an agency gave, like combination locks or laundry baskets and stuff like that, which cut down on that aspect of it quite a bit.
And linens, right?
What's that?
And linens. Yeah.
To be able to get, obtain those things back. And then unfortunately, there are those situations where, people do leave. They don't give us a heads up. They're leaving their things behind, what have you. And then in the contract, it is stating that if they're not scheduling a walkthrough and they're leaving, then they're forfeiting that $20 deposit. And then again, unfortunately, with that happening still, then those funds are used for household goods needs. Specifically, we have 7 homes here in Traverse City under the same umbrella. So it is a good way for the accountability piece on the client's end. And if they are not scheduling those and taking off, it's a good means, kind of a petty cash that we've got to put back toward the houses.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Does anybody else do that?
Depositing? That's a typical apartment or rental thing. A deposit would be a great idea because yes, if they do leave when they're supposed to, or just don't, guess you should say, like, don't leave without paying, then at least you have that deposit that they put down initially to keep. Or you can just give it back to them, just like any other rental property. So that's a great idea.
Since Kayla said rental, I have to come in for a minute. This is not, you're not renting. You're not leasing.
I know
Okay,
it's not a rental property, but it's still.
Don't even say that word. You're a program of enrollment. That's it. If you sign a receipt saying they made a payment towards their program of enrollment, those are enrollment fees, period. Otherwise, using those words, rent and lease, you're binding yourself more to the tenant landlord law stuff, and you want to try to avoid that. Lisa, you're next. Thank you, Rachel.
No problem.
Hi, thank you. Lisa Young with Paula's House. We're provide recovery housing for women and their children. And initially we provide transportation for the ladies. We use public transportation, bus passes, which can get kind of costly, but we started looking at what other services the residents are involved in that also offer bus passes, and utilizing their bus pass instead of our bus pass. So if they have an open CPS case or a DHS case, or they're going back to school like at our local learning bank, or working with Michigan Works, all of them provide bus passes as well on a monthly level. So we started encouraging them, when somebody offers you a bus pass, take it and don't take ours. And it's really cut what we pay for bus passes like in half at this point. So it's been very helpful. So kind of just looking at what our other resources are and not recreating the wheel and not dipping into our money if we don't have to.
I know Grand Rapids, there's a couple like Arbor Circle. If somebody has an outpatient appointment, they give them a bus pass to get home, and they give them a bus pass to get back to their appointment. When they go to their appointment, they give them a bus pass to get home and another bus pass to return to their appointment. So yeah, you're right. Thank you, Lisa. There's a lot of other resources out there that do that, where there's busing even available. A lot of locations like Detroit area. I mean, or cities that are really small up in the UP. You guys don't have a bus system probably up there. So, but where it's available, that's a great resource. Thank you, Lisa. Kevin?
Hello, I actually had a question about what you said about the leasing and rental remarks. So we're very clear about, the wording of our program and everything to ensure that our residents know that they are not leasing. But I was looking into it, and for Michigan housing laws, last I knew, I thought if someone entered a sober living home and the state license program, they were still bound by, or they were still required to have the rights of tenants. So is using the term program of enrollment enough, or is there any other specific clauses we can have that would help us in those situations?
I'll let Jeff
I thought
answer this one
technically
for you.
people in Michigan can't sign away their renters' rights.
Yeah, Kevin, let me address this, and by way of background information, I've got 40 years as a land use specialist. That's the type of law that I practice. So two things. First, on the deposit for return of personal property, I would put on there, this is a deposit for return of your personal property. So there's no question, it has nothing to do with real estate. On the issue about whether a tenancy exists between a recovery residence operator and the resident, that is an issue that is unclear under Michigan law. My best, and the reason why it's unclear is there's nothing specific, either on the side of state regulation that says you have to mandate this as a tenancy, or the opposite, that there is no tenancy. There was, this is probably 10 years old, a case involving the YMCA in Ann Arbor, where the issue about landlord-tenant law and the application thereof was determined by a court of appeals in Michigan to not exist, and because that involved the use of a room, but the room that the YMCA people stayed in could be changed by the YMCA. So there wasn't any specific interest in a specific area of the house. And so if you draft your recovery resident agreement properly, and you as the operator retain the right to move the individual from bedroom A, bed C to bedroom L, bed D at any time for any reason, then you fall, I think, factually close to what the circumstances were in the YMCA case. So having said all of that, I am working with some state representatives on trying to adopt the model state law draft committee's voluntary certification act, which is going to be patterned after the Florida statute. that says that if a resident comes into a recovery residence that's certified in the state of Florida and leaves, that person is not covered by the landlord tenant law, and that the operator can forcibly discharge somebody from a recovery residence for cause with no prior notice. You don't need to go through, I need to serve them with a 3 or 7 day notice and then wait and go into a court, district court, and get an order of eviction. Rather, it's, you need to make sure that the person is going to be discharged into a proper level of care, or at least an attempt to do that is made.
Like
But
even bringing them to the ER, right? Like maybe they're
That's-
under the influence and you bring them to the ER.
That's typically what happens. It's almost always that person needs a higher level of care.
Right.
And so you need to go back into a treatment facility. You need to go to the ER room. You need to do something, but you can't stay here because you're violating the rules. So, that's the answer. It's just unclear. There are things you can do to help protect yourself. And I think that starts as a matter of education at the introduction level. So on day one, before somebody comes into the house, you have a discharge plan in place that doesn't include, gee, I'm going to have to go to district court and get an order of an eviction for you.
Mhm.
Rather, if certain things happen, this is what you agree to.
Right. That's why it states in our NAR standards as well, and everyone should have this in place, that you do need an exit plan for each individual resident that stays at your program. There should be an exit plan in place, whether you're removed or you leave voluntarily. Where are you going to go? What are you going to do? What is your plan? So they can write that down, sign it, and you can give that to them at the end to be like, this was your plan. This is what you are going to follow through on.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Chris?
It's an answer to your question. Might not answer your question. It is that.
Chris, you're muted.
I'm gonna try to find where it's at, Jeff and Catherine, but we had a lawyer write something up for us, a landlord lawyer, when we first started almost 4 years ago. And basically what he put in the wordage was that a sober home falls under a treatment facility, kind of the same category. And in a treatment facility, if you're not following rules, regulations, policies, and procedures that you signed upon entering, you could be exited at any given time. I can find that, and if I find it, I'll share it, because it's a real important piece of document that we used before. We actually,
One question, Chris. Do you have a licensed treatment facility that is associated with the recovery residence in any way?
I don't, but he stated that a sober homes fall under the same thing as a treatment. Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily take that to the bank.
Okay. And what I was going to state, Jeff, was we had an incident where early on we had to exit an individual, and the individual basically stated that he had renter's right, even though he signed an agreement fee. He wasn't written anything. We was real clear with our wordage. We don't allow anybody to say they rent a room from us, even the way we get receipts back. So we had to call, of course, the authorities. Authorities came out. So one time in the 4 years we had to do this. Authorities came out, severed the individual, and because we had a relationship with the police and community, the police was basically explaining to them, this is not a rental home. This is a recovery home. We have knowledge of how this operates. You have 5 minutes to get your stuff and exit the property.
Wow, that doesn't happen very often. That's great.
I was gonna have that discussion with you, Chris, which is I've had 3 or 4 different operators have run it through to the police, and one police department takes the same position that occurred in yours, which is, hey, you've got no rights, you're gone.
Yep.
Typically, what the other 3 occasions, what they said was, did the resident receive mail at that location? If
Yeah,
they receive a mail at that location, then
that's the house, yeah.
that's a civil matter, and you're gonna have to go into court and get a order of eviction or get it resolved in a courtroom proceeding. So,
Wow.
you know, that is, that again, that all goes towards, that's why we really need to get this model state law working. And I am in contact with both a state rep and a state senator on trying to get that done. And it'd be great if that could be done here in the next 6 months, so we could trot that out at the NAR best practices conference. It's like, finally, we did something right.
Mhm.
But it's, yeah. The other thing I was going to mention is this is really turning into a fantastic community of practice meeting. Since Catherine in the last couple of months has been saying, let's try to figure out what people are interested in talking about, as opposed to me going down from a 10,000 foot level and saying, this is what you need to do. It's like, no, I really got the experts all in the room, because I'm hearing things here that I've never heard, never thought of before. And I've been involved and I've talked with people, you know, really for the last 8 years of my life, doing nothing but recovery residences. So it's, you can still learn a lot, and there's great things, the conversations about the door. It just makes all the sense in the world to have that, like Christy was talking about, have a schlag lock that's all in the computer, and then you don't need to deal with giving out keys. So anyway, to the extent that any of you folks have an interest in, or you got a question about, this is something I'd like to know more about, put it in the email, send it to Kayla, and then we'll have that as a point of discussion at the next meeting. And and by the same token, if somebody has said, gee, something is working out fantastic with my bus passes up here, I got something to tell, please bring that to the attention, and we'll talk about it, and you can share your knowledge.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. I wanted to add something to what Chris was talking about. What?
It was your idea, Catherine. But
Oh, well. I wanted to add something to what Chris was talking about. And everybody should have some kind of form in your intake packet that you review with people that does talk about non-tenant landlord laws, just to distinguish that your program does not fall under that. And one analogy that my late husband and I used to give them, and we'd say, well, this is more like a gym membership, right? If you're not following the rules, you're not paying your fees, we're just going to say, okay, you got 20 minutes, pack your stuff and go. Does that make sense? And they're like, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, go ahead and sign your name and date that makes sense. So just to kind of simplify things, because sometimes some of the paperwork we give them, there's so much. And especially, I hope you don't do this, but some places will just give them the intake packet, review all this, sign each page and give it back to me. Please don't do that. That's the best time you should be having like a phone screening with the individual before they even come to you, so you can see and they understand what's expected. But when they come, make sure there's somebody that is actually sitting down with them. Some people can't even read very well. You might be giving them stuff and they don't even know what they're signing. So, but that gives you an opportunity to elaborate on things a little bit more detail, and for them to ask questions and kind of see where there might be a little pushback, and it really would make a big difference starting out in your home. So great. Anybody else have any ideas about things? I wanted to bring up one more thing, because one of the subjects was how to expand. That was something somebody wanted to know. And Chris, I know you're a great example right now, and so is Recovery Road have had individuals. We've had a few individuals contact MARR and say, hey, we got this place. I want to have somebody run it as a recovery residence. What do we do? And what I've been doing is referring them to the certified operator list. Go to the operator list in the area that you're looking for, and contact the operators, contact a certified operator, because most operators would love to expand. So you don't have to buy in order to expand. You can also lease. And so there's been a couple great opportunities recently that there's a place available. They were looking for somebody that could actually run it. Chris, do you want to talk about that for a minute? What happened with you recently?
You referring to me, right? This Chris?
Chris Pompey,
Okay, there
yes.
you go. Yeah, so I was contacted, I guess I can say the individual name. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, by individual name Jennifer, down in Cass County. And full of a lot of energy. I'm sure you can say that, Catherine. Has a big heart for what we do. And she had been running into a lot of problems with the city commissioners and the municipalities, but she had some different opportunities for some different locations to potentially open up homes. So one of the places was a 12-bedroom home with a potential lease. That's one place. But then I was also contacted by another individual who's also in Cass County, who built a home on a property. I believe they have over 100 acres of land. And part of this sits in a no-zone township. So for us, that's like Christmas, because a no-zone township means that I don't have to go do a song and dance and have all these community members come out and say what we can't do. The house is fully ready. Again, already zoned properly because there's no zoning. They actually had set the house up for a offender success program. However, they didn't want to do the offender success program, so they reached out to us, and they're going to lease us the property, and we're going to be able to go in there and get it started. Yeah,
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a blessing. That's, really for
Yeah.
people to reach out like that. So if there's specific operators that are really interested as well in expanding, if you want to shoot me an email and say, hey, we're interested as well, please let me know. I mean, the fair thing for me to do, obviously, is to say, hey, go to the list and make your calls in the area you're looking for, but some don't want to, and there's some that really want to expand in certain locations. So please make sure you let me know, because I'd be happy to share any and all information with anybody that calls about opportunities like that. So great. That's awesome, Chris.
and thank you, Catherine, for doing that for us, because
Yes.
we're always looking for homes, and it's tough sometimes. So this was a great opportunity for us. Thank you.
But now that you're established with somebody that has these opportunities and maybe has a financial status, she may be more willing to do that again, because she knows she's got an operator that wants to expand, and she's going to get her money, and the home's being run properly. So there's a lot of people out there like that are just looking for somebody to run the home for them. So, or partnering with somebody. I've gotten some new operators or new people that want to open up a home and they don't know where to start. And so I've recommended again that they go to the certification list, for all the operators, and find an area that you're interested in, reach out to the operator and say, hey, I'm interested in partnering in some way. Maybe she could, or they could run a home for you. You can expand and you'd have another house manager. It's a way for them to learn on how to run a home themselves, but there's so many opportunities out there. So got a few minutes left. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to share? Preston, can I call on you? Because I know you had opened up a large home recently, working with somebody the same way that Chris did.
Yeah, actually, my story is very similar to what you guys are referring to, that there was someone in Muskegon that had a house that used to be used for adult foster care. And then when the organization that was running it defaulted and basically went out of business, the landowner had a 17-bed facility that she wasn't making money on, but yet she still had to pay all the mortgages and taxes and bills. so yeah, she had reached out to MARR and they had done a broadcast, I believe it was via email. And then I decided to give it a try and talk to the homeowner and it's worked out. We opened up in February and Muskegon loves the idea of having some beds available for their clientele.
That's great.
Yeah, so,
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
yeah, sure.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to bring up?
This was a great topic of conversation. I'm so happy everyone shared. It's really helpful for you all to share these kinds of things. I also posted in the operator forum, just another basically like topic discussion. If you have any topic ideas, please post it there. You can email me after every single meeting. I also send out a survey. So you're able to give feedback on the meetings, list any topics you want to discuss about the meetings. So you have three avenues to list anything you guys can think of, because this is very helpful for you guys and for us. So
And the meetings for you. So thank you again for all your feedback and for your involvement. It's really important that we work on things together. There's no reason for any of us to have to figure out things on our own. So the more minds and ideas get together, the better operators we're going to be and the more people we can help. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes left of your day. Unless, Jeff, do you have anything you want to talk about?
No, but thank you for the 5 minutes.
Oh, well, you kind of lunged forward, so I thought you had something on your mind.
No, well, my only thought was, and it's more of an observation, is that the real experts on running recovery residences in Michigan are you folks. And so rather than thinking that you're out in a silo somewhere in the UP, it's fantastic if you can communicate either on the Facebook thing or during our monthly meetings. Say, here's what my question is. And you're going to be able to get probably the best answer, the most useful answer, and nobody's going to charge you for the answer. So it's all win-win-win.
yeah, and
And
someone
on
else might have the
Facebook.
same question.
So, thanks to everybody out here. You're making it what it can be. And so we're looking forward to improving things. And if anybody has any suggestions on how you want MARR to run the meeting or add topics to the meeting, let us know. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. We'll
Peace.
see you
Your
soon.
week.
Thank you.